Welcome to the Assist Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Schwartz, and joining me today is former roommate, good friend here at the University of Central Florida, and avid NBA fan, Devon Foster. Devon, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing, Zach?
Not bad. It's a lovely Tuesday morning, even though the Pistons have just started tanking when they were in playoff picture. It's not good.
I still remember Blake Griffin dropping 50 on us, though, so still haven't forgotten about that.
Blake's the only reason we are good.
Dude, just like a total random thing, though, like, so you know how like you have teams where it's like every time you play against them, you just kind of know it's like kind of like an easy win.
Yeah.
For the longest time, just for whatever reason, Philly always had like a good matchup against Detroit. But ever since Blake dropped like 50 and now that you guys are in like the playoff race, I get like more concerned playing you guys. It's like a psychological thing.
Concerned about that and the ramifications of a possible 7-game series of our friendship.
Oh,
and
for
what
sure.
if our teams became rivals?
For sure.
So you are a Sixers fan. Tell the people a little bit more about yourself.
All right, so I'm a biomedical sciences major here at UCF. Career goals are to apply to medical school, similar to Zach. Born and raised in Philadelphia, so that's where the Sixers fandom and everything comes from. Just a fan of all the Philly teams, and moved to Florida a couple years ago, and I'm loving it here.
You're here, yeah. It's awesome. Doctor Gang.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
us.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Philly, obviously, a really great year.
Honestly, I kind of felt that this year compared to last year, I preferred last year.
Interesting.
So
without the expectations, or
I feel like there's a lot of things. Last year was like, it was our first year that we had been. We had just drafted Markelle and everything. So
yeah.
Again, it's kind of like
Markelle.
We'll get to that eventually.
Yes, yeah, you've been storing this up.
So last year compared to this year, last year felt a lot more meaningful because the season before we had seen kind of like what Joel could do in like half a season sort of sense. So it's like, okay, this is my first time seeing Joel like going all out, doing his thing.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons is coming back, super promising. Markelle at the time we expected differently than the outcome.
Right.
But then we signed JJ Redick as a free agent, like just a lot of stuff going into the season. It was super exciting because going from like 10-win seasons to like actually having a good team is really exciting.
Right.
And then just kind of Philadelphia fans are super like into it.
I saw the Eagles Super Bowl win.
Absolutely.
Don't worry.
So just picture that for like years of losing and then having the potential to go far is like the hype was just building up. So
right.
And then I'm trying to remember. So we started off pretty decent. Like we were around like a 500 team and no expectations. I remember like Skip Bayless or Colin Cowherd or someone. They were like saying how we'd be lucky to get like the 8th seed or the 7th seed.
I remember
something.
that was the preseason expectation was right around the 8th seed.
So to just kind of go like above and beyond that and end up like passing like LeBron on the Cavs and being like a 3rd seed.
Right.
So just that totally out of nowhere. Ben he did great just all around, obviously everything other than shooting. Just kind of watching like right out the gate, he was exactly what we expected. Watching Joel go, and I remember he played the Lakers. It was like kind of a statement game for me. It was like, I think the stat line was like 47 points, like 20-something rebounds, 7 assists, 7 blocks, and I was like, this guy is definitely like...
Right, he's the stud.
Worth it. Worth waiting for. And so just kind of all that coming together, and then I remember going on like the 16-game win streak, like closing off the season, going into the playoffs, and then... after we'd picked up Marco Bellinelli, Ersan Ilyasova, kind of...
Yeah, the buyout guys.
Yeah, so it's like we had like solid like core guys in the starting lineup. I really liked that we had like Dario and Covington and TJ, just kind of those classic process guys. Like Dario not so much, but I mean Covington and TJ for sure. Classic 10-win season guys, being able to come back and kind of going through the bad times with the good and... just kind of how everything was rolling going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely get that. And it'll be interesting for me, just as more of a general NBA fan, to see Nikola Jokic from the Nuggets or Joel Embiid will get first team All-NBA. Because those two, I mean, they're probably both top 5 MVP guys, but you can only have one center for first team All-NBA. And obviously Denver we'll get to in a little bit. I mean, they had a great coming out season.
They've been great.
Yeah.
I feel like Denver this year resembled a lot of kind of what we had last year. Where
the
it was
breakthrough.
like certain players having breakthroughs and then just as a team exceeding expectations and everything. And I try to be as unbiased as possible. I really do. I really try to be as unbiased as possible when determining like who's going to win certain series, like which player is better than others. But I'm just under the firm belief that if I had to pick a center for my team out of all the centers in the NBA, it would just have to be Joel Embiid. Like, that's just how it is for me.
Yeah. The one thing in his game that bugs me, and this is like obviously like a slight
trust me, I have gripes too.
It's the slow pull up 3 from the top of the key that he tries to pull off, and and I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, you don't hit 3. I mean,
no,
he
can, he does,
but not he takes too many.
Here's kind of. I love everything about Joel Embiid, but here's the things in particular. As a fan, I just want him to kind of get together. Certain things, obviously, like just take care of your health. Like stuff that concerns me is when like he like dives for loose balls and he like jumps into the stands. Like there's plenty of videos of those. So it's like I would much rather like if it's like a blowout game or something like that. Please don't risk getting hurt, and then
just take it easy.
Like so just. I mean, that's just stuff you can't really avoid, though. But stuff that he actively does, I feel like when he's in the post, sometimes he works a little too much on his guy, and just kind of that allows for like a double team to happen. And then every single time that happens,
the turnover,
he just dribbles like too far away from his body, gets swiped, and then bad momentum shift. Another thing that bothers me is when he goes up and kind of he like pump fakes at the 3-point line when there's no one in front of him, and then he drives. It's like
right to the guy that guarding him.
So it's like you could have shot that. Like that's a legitimate shot that you could have shot. But you just didn't.
He chose not to.
And he's like capable of making them too.
Right. Yeah, he's a better shooter than Simmons is.
No. Oh yeah, dude. I'm about to transition into my own little segment on that right after this last point about Joel. So the last thing with Joel too, with the shooting is he does at times shoot more than he needs to.
Yeah.
But it's like if he were to shoot in moderation, like he's definitely a threat. Like there's a lot of points in like games, like late game situations where he'll pull up for 3 and it's like I'm sitting there kind of cringing, like, no, he's going to start shooting a bunch of threes to get us back into the game, but then, like, he'll make 2 in a row, and I kind of forget, at his size, like, oh, yeah, he's, like, capable of making those.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about these players. That's why I love Porzingis.
I love Porzingis.
And when it was maybe 2 years ago on Christmas Day, he just pulled up and shot a 3, and I was like, this man's 7'4". No. It's like, what do you mean?
I love those players that are, like, just super versatile to that point, kind of like the Giannis, the Joel, the Porzingis, everyone, to where like they can just get like a nasty block on one end and just kind of recover, run the ball up the court themselves, and then just like either just like slam it or just like make a 3 or something. Like I love like those versatile type players.
Right. So speaking of Giannis and stuff, let's talk about the East a little bit in the playoff picture. So the first 5 seeds are confirmed. We're taping this Tuesday morning, so most teams still have 2 games left. We have Milwaukee, Toronto, Philadelphia, Boston, Indiana in that order. Brooklyn and Orlando both have playoff spots secured, just don't know the seeding yet.
Yeah.
And Detroit is a game ahead for the right to be wiped out by Giannis in the first round of the Heat and the Hornets.
Not. Dude, if you guys could beat Milwaukee, I'd greatly appreciate that.
Well, I just don't know who's going to guard Giannis. I think my friend brought up yesterday, they're like, hey, is Blake Griffin going to guard Giannis? I'm like, I sure hope not. He's going to be exhausted by the second quarter.
I kind of noticed something in the Sixers game that we played against them. So this whole season, the Sixers in general, just with the whole roster changes and everything.
It's been kind of crazy.
No, yeah, it feels like we've had 3 different teams this season. And part of that, too, kind of relating back to the whole thing about, like, why I kind of preferred last year to this year. Last year was the whole no expectations. We built, like, we picked up depth. We got to see what our guys could really do. But with this, last season we had a team the whole way through, plus additions. This season, we got rid of players I liked. We got rid of Landry Shamet. I really liked him, even though it was necessary for the Tobias trade. We got rid of Covington. We got rid of Saric. 2 other guys I really liked. And then
I liked Saric a lot.
The whole thing with just not knowing if Jimmy Butler's going to be there, and then not knowing if Tobias is going to be there, and we still don't have a bench. Just like that sort of stuff just kind of messes with like the intensity of like, this is my team, and like I know my guys on like a daily thing. But then so relating that to the Milwaukee thing, the Sixers in general this season, I don't know if it's because of the roster changes or whatever, but we had struggled specifically against Boston, Milwaukee, Toronto, just the upper level teams.
The Boston one is well chronicled. Al Horford's your nemesis.
When we beat them, I was so happy. And then I remember the Christmas game day too, where that went into like double overtime or something, and I thought we were going to win for the first time in forever against them, and then we lost. It just killed me.
Yeah.
But with the guarding Giannis thing, I kind of noticed something. So I was thinking back to kind of the Lakers dynasty with kind of Shaq and Kobe and everything, and then when Detroit actually beat them in 2004.
That's right, we did.
And
right there on that banner, right above your head.
Absolutely. So I saw like someone was talking about it, about how pretty much Shaq is unstoppable.
Yeah, he was.
So if someone's going to be unstoppable, they're not going to be able... That one person, even though they're unstoppable, is not going to be able to go out and score 100 unless they're Wilt.
Right.
So let Shaq do his thing. Let Shaq score like 50. But if you can control everyone else, and then you're just able to keep up in like the scoring productivity, I mean, that's a way to beat a team. So if there's someone that's just totally like unbeatable, just make sure that everyone else is in check.
Right.
And that's what we did in our last win against Milwaukee. Giannis had like a career high of like 50-something points, but we just locked down everyone else and we won.
So that's probably the formula, like you're right, because Giannis, as great as he is, as much of a freak as he is, and he's probably going to win MVP.
No, I agree, yeah.
He still isn't a reliable knockdown shooter. Like, he's not unstoppable yet.
No, yeah.
So that's where, like, and I have pulled up here the injury list for the Bucks. I think the Bucks will make it through the final. To the finals, because they have this team set up to take advantage of Giannis's skills. Basically, everyone else in that lineup is a shooter, except for Giannis. Even Brook Lopez. I mean, 7 years ago when we first became fans of the NBA, could you imagine Brook Lopez popping 7 threes a game and making them?
He's so underrated as like an offensive player.
Yeah, so I mean, when you have a 4-out offense with Giannis, and that's why I loved at the deadline the Mirotic.
No, for sure. I wanted him on the Sixers. I wanted us to try and get him.
Because, I mean, he's the perfect person when you have Giannis at center or Lopez at center to play along with those guys. The problem is, though, Mirotic is injured. Malcolm Brogdon's injured.
Pau
Gasol's injured. Yeah, that's what I pulled up here to look. So that's the issue when I don't think they'll have any issues with whoever the 8 seed is, be it Orlando, Brooklyn, or Detroit.
Yeah.
And that's knocking my own team. But if they're playing Boston... And the advantage to that in the second round, for instance, and the advantage to that is that Boston, I mean, I'll say my thought about them later. But if they're in the second round series and these guys are struggling, you know, Boston does have talent to kind of be able to switch on all these guys. That could present an issue for them. And it could be the classical case of injuries just locking down a team. Although I still think they'll make it all the way through the East. I think Giannis is the best player on the court. I mean, I think he's better than Kawhi. When I was at spring break in Cleveland, I saw them play the Raptors.
Oh, really?
And I saw Kawhi warming up like up close.
Really?
Because my girlfriend Katie was doing a Filipino dance thing, so I got to sit close.
Oh, that's awesome.
For pregame. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. Kawhi Leonard doesn't even look like he's a human.
No. Dude, I know this is such like a cliche thing for everyone to talk about. Talking about Kawhi, but it's like, have you seen the pictures of his hands?
Yes.
I want to know just like what everyday is like everyday life is like just grabbing things.
Yeah.
And, it's like they had the one commercial where he was like going to go do laundry or something like that, and it was just like this big ball of like clothes like bundled up together, and he was just like palming it.
That's awesome.
Like, is that just what it's like in everyday situations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's just crazy. And I think going back to the Bucks, like Chris Middleton has really been great this year.
Yeah.
And he'll be key, especially with the Milwaukee probably has a little bit more depth than, for instance, say a Philadelphia.
That's the thing. No, they have so much more depth than us. Mm-hmm. And then, is it cool if I go on a little tangent right now?
Go.
So you were saying the thing about how, like, pretty much you kind of outlined like what made Milwaukee successful this year, and what I feel like they did this year was really similar to what we did last year. Both teams exceeded expectations because I didn't expect Milwaukee to be this good.
No, I mean we thought the East was Boston's take. Preseason.
No, yeah. I mean they're like what, the 4th seed, 5th seed?
Yeah,
I don't even know which one.
They're the 4th right now.
4th, okay. But no, yeah. So they exceeded expectations, and then I think a big part of that is like they got a coach that plays towards their strengths. And then the difference with Philadelphia in particular from this year to last year was last year, Ben Simmons, like, passing, and he resembles Giannis in a lot more ways than people think, just with being so tall and, like, with his ability to get to the basket plus his passing ability, just having shooters there. Like, both teams, like, last year and this year, we both had Ersan Ilyasova, who's, like, a solid knockdown shooter. They got Brook Lopez, Middleton, Brogdon, just guys that can knock down shots. Yep. And it resembles a lot of the game plan that we had last year to where, all right, Joel's either going to be in the post or Ben's going to drive it in. And then if they score, they score. And then if they don't, kick it out to, like, Covington, J.J. Redick, Ilyasova, Bellinelli.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much recreating that, except with Giannis.
Right, and Giannis, I'm sorry to say this, Giannis is better than Ben Simmons.
Oh, no, that's not a question.
Sorry to hurt your feelings.
No, my whole thing is, like, I'm not unrealistic.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I have a kid or something that just isn't smart, and then he's, like, trying to apply to Harvard or something like that, it's like, I want to hold him to a higher standard, you know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm not going to let you go into this thinking that you're, like, all that, and then apply, and then get your feelings hurt. Like, with Ben, I could just sit here and be like, oh, Ben's awesome. Ben does everything good. Oh, except shooting. I'm actually the hardest person that there is on Ben for not being able to shoot.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even take a three.
No,
just take them.
He takes them now.
Does he?
Have you seen, like, there was a game against the Lakers, he took it. There was another game against, I forget what. No, they're actually really close. It's like, he shoots it, and they just rim out. It's like a really unfortunate thing.
I love that we're talking this much about an NBA player's shot. It's like, it was close. It rimmed out, man.
No, but just, that's the one thing, though, that he just does.
You're right. Like, you're right.
Defensively, he's come along great. Athletically, he's amazing. Just his ability to pass and drive to the basket. But again, just like, I knew it was going to happen after the Boston series in the last playoffs.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Leading up until then, Ben was awesome. Obviously, other than the shooting, it's like, oh, he doesn't even need a shot because he's just so good at everything else.
Yeah.
But after Boston, it really kind of exposed us in a sense to where if we know he's not going to shoot, we can sit back in the paint.
That hurts Joel.
Yeah, so that'll hurt Joel. And then on top of that, if we sit back in the paint, he can't drive to the paint. So now we have a bunch of space with a guy that can't shoot, no one to pass it to because, like, we're guarding them, and then he can't drive to the paint. So he just kind of stands there, and he needs to be able to do stuff with the ball to be productive.
Yeah.
So when you have, like, one of your exceptional talents not being able to do what they're talented at, it's pretty much, like, just not having anyone playing that position,
right,
in a sense.
That's why I think Butler and Harris are important, but
agreed.
I mean, as we talked about, I bet Harris stays.
Yeah.
I bet Butler doesn't.
I want the Bobby and Toby show to continue to thrive in Philadelphia. I love Boban. But I don't know. I'm trying to think. I was really indifferent on the Butler trade in general because I really liked Covington. He was exactly what we needed.
I think the Butler trade broke during a football game, UCF football game. I remember being in the stands, when it broke. And I was just like, what the hell?
I remember when it broke, and I was like, okay, we got Jimmy Butler, but who'd we give up? I was happy we got rid of Jared Bayless. Very happy. So that I was cool with. And then Dario and Covington, that was kind of a hard thing for me to accept because both of them could shoot. Covington was all defense, I'm pretty sure, last year.
A lot of it, yeah.
First team defense or something like that, or
close, yeah.
Like, but either way,
to that level.
No, 3-and-D, we weren't paying him super much.
Right.
So it was like, And then too, this was at the beginning of the season when we already lost Bellinelli, we already lost Ilyasova.
Right.
So now it's like we have pretty much our only shooters are Covington, Dario, and JJ Redick, and then now we just got rid of 2 of our shooters.
Right.
So it's like in terms of like building a team, we lost even more depth after losing depth for nothing. And then it's kind of like we already had depth issues, and then getting rid of 2 more guys that do what we need to get another guy that we're not entirely sure if he's going to stay. That was really concerning to me.
And then you doubled down on it by doing the Harris deal. And you're like, we're just getting rid of all our depth.
With the Harris deal, I actually was a huge fan of that. Not just because of Tobias, but because of what else we got. So we gave up.
They fleeced you. You gave up 2 first-round picks.
I mean, here's my thing. So in terms of players, we just needed better bench players, and we needed a starting caliber. What we needed was we needed shooting, we needed depth, we needed a starting power forward, we needed a backup center. Tobias Harris is having a phenomenal season.
Yeah.
Shooting great from 3, shooting great from the inside, great scorer.
He was the centerpiece of the Blake Griffin deal.
No, yeah.
For the Pistons.
No, yeah.
He's awesome.
So, great player. So, that was the best player in the whole trade, obviously.
Yeah.
And then we got Boban, who I know a lot of people kind of clown him, but I am like a huge supporter
You're a
of
Boban
him.
supporter?
No, really, because like he's able to do things physically that just other people just aren't able to do. Like there's like clips having seen him on the Sixers where he'll get an offensive rebound and just hold it up above everyone else.
Right.
So it's like whether you're skilled or not to like kick it out to someone or do whatever, just the fact that like you can physically hold a ball up like over Anthony Davis's head and he can't get it. Like,
that's pretty.
Like that's a useful asset. But the only thing I have to really knock is kind of his athleticism.
Well, yeah.
Kind of slow, but I mean, you just kind of need someone out there that isn't Amir Johnson while Joel rests.
Yeah.
So that was another thing I was really happy about. Plus, we got the team chemistry with Bobby and Toby. I like that. Just a good team guy. And then the third guy we got was Mike Scott, who was shooting, I believe, like 40% from 3 when we got him.
It's pretty solid.
And I like his attitude. He's like go to work, like I'm gonna do what I gotta do. He hustles, like I like him a lot. So we got shooting, we got a backup center, and we got a starting caliber power forward, and we got rid of Landry Shamet, who's gonna be an absolute star one day. Like I just looked it up yesterday. He's shooting, I think, 46% from 3.
Yeah, he's
this
doing
whole
really
season.
well for the Clippers. Yeah.
Great guy. I think there was a game with the Sixers where he made like 9 of 11 threes or something like that. Like just absolutely crazy. And then got rid of Mike Muscala, who was a stretch 4 who couldn't shoot. Like, how are you going to be a stretch 4 and miss all your threes?
Yeah.
And then Wilson Chandler, just kind of the same deal.
Right.
So, I mean, we got rid of 2 guys that frustrated me. But then the Clippers got Landry Shamet and then draft picks. Which at this point...
And somehow they're going to be in the playoffs.
I actually saw the funniest thing. So, you know how... so, Doc is obviously the coach for...
Yes.
All right. Even before I even get into that, the funniest thing. So, when I was watching the Sixers game against the Clippers, our Sixers announcers kept referring to Doc as I think was his name Glenn Davis or something.
Yes.
So they kept calling him like Glenn, and I was like,
that's bad.
No, so I was reading some comments. I was like, so why aren't they calling him like Doc? Like that's his name. Or Glenn Rivers.
Okay, either way.
You know what I mean. But either way, like, his name's obviously not Doc.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why are they just like, these are the only guys I've ever heard, like, not call him Doc.
Doc, yeah.
And then someone was like, wow, they're really committed to not calling him Doc because Dr. J is the only Doc.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, that's awesome. Like, that's because apparently they do it every single Clippers game.
That's only Philly fans would only do that.
It's so funny, though, because I never thought about it like that.
That's ridiculous.
But
that's ridiculous.
No, yeah, but just I thought that was awesome when I read that. That's like some Sixers lore right there. Like that's really cool. But what I noticed too was so obviously Doc's the coach for the Clippers, and then they had JJ Redick before we got him.
Yeah.
And then JJ Redick, what he did for the Sixers was just run around just
on screens and
like,
such.
Run in circles until he got the ball and could shoot it. That's pretty much the JJ Redick package. And then what I noticed is like he was our starting shooting guard, our backup shooting guard was Landry. So then what Landry would do, what I noticed, was like he'd run around, do the same exact thing, catch the ball, and then shoot it, and then make a three.
Yeah.
And then he's been thriving in LA, and part of like what I'm wondering is Doc whipping out the JJ Redick package and just having
for Landry,
fit the mold of like a younger JJ
it's certainly
Redick.
Possible.
No, yeah, because
we'll see how his career develops.
No, yeah, I think he's definitely going to be the steal for the draft.
Yeah, for
being drafted at 26.
Right. Yeah, that was crazy. All right, so two teams we haven't talked about much yet, but I want to talk about in the East real quick before we move to the West. Are Boston and Toronto. Boston, for me, this team has been so up and down. Like I said, they were the preseason pick to win the Eastern Conference, make the finals, challenge the Warriors for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
To me, they've been so up and down. They've been pretty good recently getting home court against the Victor Oladipo-less Pacers in the first round. This team screams to me that, okay, they'll put together a good first-round series against the Pacers, then they'll lose in 5 games to the Bucks. Mm-hmm. And it just wasn't their year, it seems like, with the distribution of minutes among Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, all of his crap before he goes to New York. Something's fishy happened. Something fishy's happened there. Anyway, I don't think they do so well. And then Toronto, for me, I mean, it's just been kind of a quiet year in a way. Kawhi's been missing back-to-backs for them. Yeah. Pascal Siakam's been insane as their third contributor behind Kawhi and Lowry. I think they would really give Milwaukee a run for their money, but I just don't think they're going to break through yet, which poor Toronto fans.
No, for sure. Just Toronto is like, in the history of the NBA, just kind of how it works is when you think back to certain seasons, you just kind of remember like the 2 teams in the finals, maybe some conference final stuff, like vaguely. Yeah. And so Toronto just, for whatever reason...
Ever since the Vince Carter days.
No, yeah. Just, for whatever reason, Toronto just... I don't see them, like, doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you completely.
Like, I just don't, for whatever reason.
It's like I have no statistical basis for that, other than Milwaukee is the better record.
No, yeah. Like, this season, if I had to predict, like, someone going to the finals, I mean, I'd think, like, Milwaukee, or if Boston, I mean, could somehow get it together. Because, like, that's the thing with Boston. It's like, even though they're doing super up and down right now, just with all the talent that I have available, plus Brad Stevens, plus always losing to them as a Sixers fan up until like our last game against them. Right. Like it just seems no matter how bad they do, just sometimes they're just able to like pull it through and just get it together. And it's a really hard team to count out no matter how. It's kind of like LeBron in a sense, to where LeBron was the 4th seed last year, but
he just tore through.
Yeah, and just with Boston as a Philly fan, I really just don't know what to expect from them. Mm-hmm. But just, I don't know, just Toronto, I mean, great depth. Kawhi Leonard's great, but just like you said, it's really quiet. Like, just not like, and I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, as we wrap up the East here.
All right.
Who makes the finals?
That's the thing, dude. It's just, it's so up in the air. Like, I mean, now that Oladipo's not, like, now that he's injured, I just, unfortunately, kind of had to count out Indiana. But Indiana scared me for a while.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, it was going to be a top 5, and then obviously his unfortunate injury.
No, yeah, I mean, they exceeded expectations, I feel, too. I knew that they were going to be tough this season after the whole 7-game series against LeBron last season.
Right. Not this good, though.
They almost won. Like, there were, like, some overtime stuff and some goaltending calls or whatever. Like,
it was really close.
No, yeah, that could have happened. But this season, I mean, if I had to bet money on it, I don't want to say it, but I feel like Milwaukee is just the best team. They probably have the best player in the conference. Yeah. Best system, I feel like, into where, like, a team constructed around their best player's strengths. Right. Which was something I feel like that we had last year, which they have this year, and just coming from someone that's seen it, like, having that's really important. Mm-hmm. It seems like they have good chemistry. It seems like they have really good coaching. If I had to pick a team, it'd be them. Toronto, I mean, they'll probably make it to the conference finals. Just, they're really quiet. It's really hard to make predictions on a team that you don't really hear too much about. Right. And then I'm just excited for... No, wait, hold on. I'm trying to think. So... If the Sixers are the 3rd seed,
we'd play Toronto.
All right, so Depends. I want to beat Toronto.
It's a tough
All right,
series.
I want to make it to the conference finals, so I want to put Philly in the conference finals.
Okay, there you go. On record.
If we could make it past the second round, I'd be very content with that. I'd be very happy.
Yeah.
But I would love to see a Toronto-Boston series, because it would be Boston-Milwaukee.
Yes.
That'd be interesting too, kind of a rematch from last year.
Right. Yeah, for last year's first round.
But just with those, matchups, it's really hard to predict, because Milwaukee, I feel, is the best team. Boston's the most unpredictable team. And then Philly versus Toronto, I feel like, just in general, kind of us with Philly and then them with Toronto, I feel like as a whole, the two of us have been kind of, compared to last year, we with Philly being unexpected and Toronto being having the best record for a while.
Yeah.
We were on ESPN all the time and people would always talk about us. So I feel like we kind of went from being maybe overhyped in a sense to this season, now that Milwaukee and Giannis are the new and exciting kind of people to talk about.
Right.
I don't even remember the last time anyone talked about Toronto or Philly. So we're just kind of
yeah, you're chilling almost.
whatever happens, happens.
Right.
I don't know. So
it's tough.
Milwaukee probably making it out, unsure of.
That's why we spent a half hour talking about the East, because it's so compelling.
Oh, yeah. Because, what is there really to talk about the West
so
other than...
We're going to get there. Here we go. We know who is in the playoffs in the West. We don't know what the order is. We know Golden State's the 1 seed. We know Denver's the 2.
Okay.
And then we have Houston, Portland, Utah, Oklahoma City, the Spurs, and the Los Angeles Clippers, all playing for seeding in the last couple of days.
All right.
So, do you think anyone will really challenge Golden State?
I watched them play the other day, and there's absolutely nothing anyone can do. It's just, they're, this is it. This is their last year at Oracle. They're the number 1 seed in the West right now.
Yeah.
Don't know what's going to happen. Well, I think Klay's going to re-sign, but he's a free agent. Draymond's a free agent, isn't he?
Next year.
Next year? Okay. Well, tension with Draymond between management and stuff.
Kevin Durant's leaving.
Yeah.
I've been saying that to my friends. It's on the podcast. Yeah. Kevin Durant's leaving.
DeMarcus Cousins,
I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, and then, he's a wild card. I didn't even know he was going to go to the Warriors. But anytime it's a 1-year rental, it's he's playing to get a contract for next year.
Exactly.
Because before Joel Embiid started popping off, DeMarcus Cousins was undeniably the best center in the league.
Oh, yeah. He's insane, too, with his three-point shooting. He's...
No, yeah, he can shoot, too.
Yeah, he's insane.
Him and Joel are really similar in a lot of senses.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's your core guys just not knowing where a lot of them are going to be. And then I don't really even know too much about their depth anymore. So it just feels kind of like a different team than kind of the past championship runs and stuff. And then this is, again, their last season playing at Oracle before they moved to San Francisco and everything. Right. So I just feel like knowing them, during the season they might have been kind of lackadaisical at times, but just, it's all right, we're about to three-peat, 4th championship in 5 years, last season at Oracle, who's watched us grow this whole time.
Right.
There's no way they're not winning a championship.
I agree. So I want to run through each West team here and their chances of beating them. I'll go through with my opinion first. Clippers, if they were to play the Clippers in the first round, that'd be fun, but that would also be a 5-game series.
Yeah.
If they play the Spurs, that's a sweep.
Yeah, that's the Spurs kind of remind me of the Raptors this year. I feel like that was kind of I don't know.
Why? Because they have DeRozan?
No, well, yeah, obviously. But just it's one of those teams where it's I don't know, this season, it's they have talent with DeRozan and LaMarcus and everything, but it's just, again, just kind of the whole, you don't hear about them too much other than kind of pop and...
Yeah.
This season, it's been a really quiet season for the Spurs, I kind of feel.
Right. The Thunder could be interesting as a first-round matchup because of all the history with Kevin Durant.
Absolutely.
And Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
But I think the Warriors will just out-talent them.
It just is what it is. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Steven Adams versus, the Harlem Globetrotters.
And George has been injured recently, even though he was having an excellent season.
he was for a while. I thought he was in the MVP race.
Yeah, now he's kind of dropped out.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Utah, potential second-round matchup. Always tough because Utah's Rudy Gobert, obviously, they play his style. They're one of the teams you mentioned, style, earlier with Milwaukee. Yeah. They're a team that really sticks to their guns, knows what they're doing. Once again, that's a 5-game series, though.
Well, no, here's the thing that just kind of general media, I feel does. So this season compared to last season, who was hyped? Boston was hyped with like Jason Tatum and everything.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons was hyped.
Yep.
Donovan Mitchell was hyped.
Correct.
This season, I don't hear anything about Jason Tatum. Ben Simmons, I personally feel like was better last season.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just didn't take the next step with his jump shot.
Right.
And then Donovan Mitchell, from the stats that I see, he's a great player. And from what I've seen on social media and everything, he seems like a really good person.
Yeah.
But just kind of reminds me of Russell Westbrook in a little bit of the sense of like, this season he's felt kind of inefficient. Like, I'll check and see. It's like, oh, he had 20 points, but he took 20 shots.
Exactly.
So it's like, I don't know, just the kind of how you view numbers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the whole thing with hype. Like, those guys were super hyped last year, and then this year just don't really hear about them too much. And now all we hear about's Milwaukee, and then Luka, and then they'll be hyped up for this season, and then next season they're just gonna find someone new.
Yeah,
it's just a cycle where
this year it's been Doncic and Trae Young.
No, yeah. So I mean, you just find who's new and exciting, talk about them for a year, and then next season move on. And it's very unfortunate because I thought we were gonna talk about Ben Simmons forever.
The current 4 seed, Portland, obviously Nurkic just broke his leg.
That was horrible.
That was terrible.
Especially because just relating it to what I want to do. Yeah, I want to do orthopedics, and I've gone in, I've done orthopedic research, I've worked with a bunch of different orthopedic surgeons, I've seen different surgeries and everything. It's a really fascinating field, and just seeing just how gruesome that injury was. It's one thing when, like, there's injuries where you'll go down, it's like, okay, yeah, that he looks hurt, walk it off.
It's like the Auburn guy who blew out his knee the other day. It didn't, like, you and I probably knew that he blew out his knee, but to other people it's like, oh.
But it's like, there's some, like, just certain injuries, it's like, okay, like, you kind of read it on paper, like, okay, torn ACL, they're not going to play for 3 weeks, but it's like, when I physically kind of watched him go down and, like, land and saw how much pain he was in. Like,
you saw the bone snap.
Like, that made me, like, upset, you know? Like, that actually, like, I don't watch Portland games, I don't like keep up with them much, but just like basketball aside, as a person, like I really just felt horrible. Like just people in general, it just is awful for people to have to go through things like that. And I just hope he has a good recovery and is doing well and everything.
Yes, I agree completely.
Yeah, but I mean, up until then, like, I like Portland a lot. Damian Lillard's awesome.
He's great.
I absolutely love him. CJ McCollum's awesome. I'm awful. I always confuse him with Jokic. It's Nurkic, right?
Nurkic, yeah.
I really liked him a lot too. Just they're a good team, but they're kind of the Raptors of the West, to where they just are a good team. They're a good team every year. They have good players, a good system, but just I don't see them getting it done.
Yeah, exactly. Like Golden State would take care of them.
No, yeah. It's kind of the whole Clippers with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and everything.
Right.
Like,
it's just,
they're a good team. They're gonna make it to the second round, but I mean, I realistically don't see them winning.
And now, the rematch from last year, possibly playing against Houston. The problem with Houston is Harden's amazing. I think he'll be runner-up MVP.
Absolutely. I feel like it's depending on. I mean, obviously it's a regular season award, and I feel like it's hard to not give it to Giannis given Milwaukee's success.
Exactly.
But then at the same time, just what statistically James Harden had done, and then how, if they were just a higher seeding, I would give it a potential for that to be
right.
But just because they are where they are, and I know part of it's they're there because of the whole injuries and stuff, but
and I think last year was their year. Straight up, last year was their year to beat Golden State.
It was just the whole Chris Paul curse, getting injured, and it's really unfortunate because I felt like they were a great team and definitely had a chance. Like, if Golden State was going to lose, it was going to be in the conference finals.
Right.
Last.
Yeah. And then Denver, I love Jokic. I like their team. Jamal Murray's great. Yeah. But I think they're just not ready yet.
No, yeah.
I don't think they're ready yet. When Durant leaves, I'm saying it. They'll be ready to take up a possible mantle in the post-Golden State Warriors West.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think they could go toe-to-toe with them.
Just Denver, they shock you. They're going to be talked about a lot, like I said. Like,
they've been hyped up this whole regular season.
Because they overexceeded, they are going to be one of those teams that I feel like next season, unless they make like a huge kind of free agent sort of thing, or unless like their players develop even more, they just don't have kind of that it factor for me to really, like, they'll be a good team, like, no disrespect towards them at all, like, they deserve every ounce of like success they've had this season, but it's just that like crunch time, like game 7 against like a really good team, I'd feel uneasy kind of betting for them against like a Golden State or against like a Kyrie Irving or someone that I know has proven time and time again to do it.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's where I'm at too. All right, let's come to the moment you've been waiting for.
All right.
I'm going to like go on my phone here, and you're just going to be allowed to say whatever you want on Markelle Fultz, then we'll be done.
So how we came up with this topic is there's potential for Philly to play against Orlando.
Correct.
And we all know that Markelle Fultz was drafted by Philadelphia and was traded to Orlando. Markelle Fultz, back in college, was exactly what we needed. He can create his own shot. He could shoot. His athletic ability was insane. He had crazy blocks, crazy passes. He just seemed like everything we needed at the time. And then Summer League was good. He was still able to shoot and everything, and then taken out for, I think he injured like his ankle or something like that.
Right.
And then ended up coming back, and just we all know about the shoulder injury and everything. As someone that's interested in going into the medical field, I have full like support for, obviously, like if you're injured or if you're hurt, don't play. But at the same time, just a lot of his stints of when he would kind of like go out with an injury would be times where it's kind of convenient for you to go out with an injury. Like this season, he played and then he had the stretch where he was like bobbling his free throws and everything, and he was getting like clowned on social media.
Right.
And then I think it was like JJ Redick that took his starting spot back over Markelle.
Yes.
The day after that happened, Markelle hasn't played a single game since then.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
He's been out with his injury.
Yeah.
And then, again, he was diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome, and obviously someone that's interested in that stuff, I looked it up, and there were people saying, oh, well, you need surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome, and even I would come to his defense and be like, the differences in thoracic outlet syndrome is you could have it with like a blood circulation thing, or you can have it with a nerve.
I see.
Nerve requires surgery, I believe.
Right.
But then if it's just a circulation sort of thing, that's where physical therapy comes in.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, I dislike hearing about all this, and we've had his issues with like talking to the media and just the whole he exists but he's not there sort of thing.
He's really not.
Like, I couldn't find a legit interview he ever gave with anyone.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we drafted him, but it's kind of like, are you ever going to be present? Like, whether it's like on the court or having a personality off the court.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff just kind of comes into play. And then when people would kind of say, like, oh, you're not even injured and everything, I would, to a degree, defend him, be like, okay, if he was diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome and it's not a nerve thing and he doesn't need surgery, then yeah, physical therapy is what you need.
Right.
But then part of what kind of gets to me is, I know that it's a rare kind of diagnosis, but what it sounded like too was last year he played, had the whole shoulder thing. I was like, okay, yeah, he's injured. Take all the time you need, come back, be ready to play. But even the Sixers management kind of was messing it up for me in a sense, to where like, oh, we'll give you an update in 3 weeks. And then 3 weeks come by. It's like, all right, we'll give you an update in a month. It's
there'd be no update.
That's kind of what bothers me with Markelle a little bit, is like, there's kind of no transparency in a sense, to where we don't know what's going on. Like, we're rooting for you. Like, when everyone on ESPN was kind of making fun of him and everything,
right.
We were like, he's injured, wait for him to come back. Like, everything we saw in college of him was great. Like, we were super supportive of him. And then came back towards like playoff time last year, and he was going, and like, he did great defensively. He was the youngest person ever to get a triple-double.
Yeah.
Like, everything except shooting he was doing great with, and we were fine with that, because it's like, work at your own time. Like, do what you got to do. I mean, Ben Simmons isn't shooting at all, so I mean,
right, yeah,
you're not in a rush.
Yeah.
But part two is like, yeah, it's great that you're able to do all these other things, but now we have two guards that are great at everything except shooting. And we drafted him specifically for his shooting and shot creating ability.
Right.
So having that hurts us. And then I feel like it affected his confidence a lot, to where just like, I feel like part of it is psychological, to where everyone's expecting him to do things that he can't do, whether it's physical or mental or anything. Then over the off season, when I heard he was training with Drew Hanlon, I got super hyped because I love Drew Hanlon and his ability to, like, he works with Joel, he works with Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Like great guy. And I saw a bunch of, like, I saw his schedule where he posted he worked out with Markelle, I think it was like 3 times a day for like the whole summer.
It's pretty insane.
Then there were like the clips of Markelle shooting and everything, and form looked good. He said he wasn't hurt. He was making like threes in a row.
Right.
And just the season came and he made his first couple threes and everything. Like, and then I remember the first time he hit like a real three, it was at home in Philly, and everyone for like 2 to 3 minutes, just a whole standing ovation in the middle of the game.
That's awesome.
No, it was crazy. So, like, that's how supportive we were of him.
Yeah.
It's like, we had invested so much time and effort and, like, emotional energy into this guy, and just seeing him do what, like, having come all that way was huge for us. But then just the whole thing of, like, there was, like, a Twitter thing on, with Drew Hanlon, where he was responding to another trainer that was like criticizing, I think, Markelle, and he was like, well, Markelle's not even completely healthy yet. And so Markelle said he was healthy, so everyone's like, whoa, like, what does Drew mean? And then that tweet got deleted, and then apparently Drew and Markelle had become kind of like estranged from each other.
Wow.
And so
it's like a marriage.
No, exactly. So we don't really even, like, kind of know what was going on with that. So now we're kind of going back into the whole, okay, what's going on sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then the performance started dropping. Field goal percentage went down. Stopped shooting threes.
Right.
And then the whole free throw thing started happening, where it was, like, the hitch or the bobble and stuff. And just now it's like, okay, if he says he's not hurt and he was shooting fine before, but now all this psychological pressure's on him, and now he's going back to this. A lot of people were kind of questioning, like, hey, I don't know if this is like a physical injury anymore. Like, this really looks and sounds like it's psychological.
Mental,
because, like, if you were injured, don't play, do your physical therapy and everything, and just when you were 100% ready, like we thought he was working out with Drew, then come back, because this is only going to prolong your injury and stuff. And so then, of course, all that sort of stuff was happening, and then just one day, Brett Brown, I guess, kind of had enough and was like, all right, we need J.J. Redick back in the starting lineup. Like, we're losing games. We need to win. We have a lot of expectations this year. The moment he got benched again, didn't play. And then I think it was like his agent, who's also like a lawyer or something like that, was like releasing statements like, Markelle's going to go seek medical advice from different physicians in New York or something like that. And then he would go there. And from what I heard, they had to go to like multiple, pretty much from physician to physician, until they could find someone that would give them an answer. And coming from someone just, again, like interested in that whole thing, is sometimes it's just, there's nothing to diagnose. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes, like, my shoulder could just hurt, but I don't know what I did to it, but it's not necessarily a medical diagnosis.
Exactly.
So if there's nothing to diagnose, a doctor's not just going to say, oh, this is the closest thing it's to, so I'm going to give you this. So, again, it just sounds really kind of, like, suspicious to me. Like, okay, went to a doctor, didn't get a diagnosis, on to the next one, didn't get a diagnosis, until you reach one where it's like, you know, it kind of sounds like you have this really rare thing. And and then, I mean,
suspect.
Whether he has it or not, I mean, it's a rare diagnosis, so of course it's not going to be the first thing people think of. So if it is what it is, doesn't need surgery, and then it's only like a physical therapy thing, then go through it. But I mean, right now we're kind of going on like our second year without really seeing him do anything.
And now he's in Orlando.
Yeah, and so obviously, like, now living in Orlando and everything, I have a bunch of friends who are Magic fans, and so they were they were talking to me about what I thought of the trade and everything, and I said, I'm honestly, like, after everything I've been through, it's a relief because he was a number 1 overall pick, so we had to pay him, I think, like $10 million a year. And
something like that.
He's making more than what he was worth, obviously.
Right.
And so we freed up cap space, and we got a guy back that would play, who we're not playing Jonathan Simmons right now in the rotation. But at the time, it's like, we're giving up a guy that's worth a lot of money that's not even playing, and we're getting back a guy that's going to play. And I think we got a draft pick. So I was like, that's a pro. We pretty much gave up nothing at that point for something.
Right.
So that's a benefit. And then they were like, oh, but like his college highlights, and he's just injured now. And
so he's been injured for like 2 years now.
No, yeah, but it's like you just gotta be patient with him, like you were patient for like Ben Simmons and Joel and everything.
Right.
And then I kind of went into it like we were nothing but supportive up until he got traded.
Yeah.
But just everything we had put up with in terms of the injury, not seeing him play, people making fun of him and us sticking up for him and everything, and then there were just towards the end, it seemed a lot of like him just kind of sort of disrespecting us in a sense. We're all like, I want a fresh start in a new place and everything. Just kind of left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So when Joel was healthy and everything, he came back and now he's like the best center in the league. Ben Simmons was out for the year, and then he was like playing at an all-star level as a rookie. So it's like, when Markelle's in and out, and I'm injured when I get benched, like, it's not the same with those guys. And then we're in a win now mentality where we need depth. We need players that are playing because we're trying to win now because we don't know where Jimmy Butler's going to be. We don't know where Tobias Harris is going to be.
Right.
And then Orlando, I feel like, is a good place for him to be because, I mean, they're in the playoffs now, but at the time they weren't in the playoffs, so there's not the win now mentality. They need a point guard, and they have time to develop him along with like all their other players and everything. So that's a good place for him. And if I had to pick a place for him to go, that's where I'd pick for him to go. It's kind of cool that I'm still in Orlando, so I can kind of see where he's at and keep updated with him. But the thing too is, I saw this one little kind of interview type thing. I don't know if it was with a GM or it was like someone in management, I think, and pretty much people were just asking about Markelle, and they were like, just how's he doing? And then pretty much the response was, we don't know too much about his injury, but he's doing physical therapy. And then the follow-up question was like, when do you think he'll play? Like, what's the timetable we're looking at? And they were like, yeah, we don't really know. I mean, just kind of as long as
still don't know.
So it's like everything we'd experienced of like, that's what like, all my Magic fan friends are like how I was when we first drafted him.
Right.
To where you see the potential, but just, this is suspicious. This is the same stuff that we were being told, and I don't want the Magic to have to go through that because with kind of where they've been progressing, like, they have the chance to be good, and I don't want Markelle to potentially just kind of ruin that for them, sort of like how he like messed it up for us.
Right.
And then there was like another report where it said that Markelle wasn't playing, and he said he was out with like a sore shoulder or something like that, which was super disrespectful towards if he actually has thoracic outlet syndrome.
Right.
But
sore shoulder.
Oh, then one of my Philly friends retweeted this thing on Twitter where it was right when the trade happened. I think the tweet was, if I see any pictures of Markelle holding his arms up on Splash Mountain, I'm going to be pissed. And that's
great.
Oh, that made me laugh for so long.
That's perfect. But yeah.
Yeah, that's...
You need to get that out.
No, yeah, that was like a 10-minute rant right there. That's a 2 years worth of frustration all at once.
On the podcast now.
Oh, all right, well,
Devon, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Let's hope we have a good playoffs.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you for listening to the Assist Podcast. If you like the show, go drop a 5-star rating. That really helps us keep the show going. If you want to stay updated with all the podcast episodes, hit the subscribe button, and also go follow our Twitter, which is @assist_podcast, and our Instagram, which is now the Assist Podcast. And you can write any emails, any suggestions you have to theassistpod@yahoo.com, and we'll see you next week.